Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing amazing. It's kind of sunny here in sunny Florida. I don't know what the weather's like where you guys are at, but today we are doing a free training on positioning in the marketplace, right? So, when I first started my business years ago, my home care business, like a big part of the challenge that I was having is that there were a lot of, even at that time, there were a lot of competitors in the marketplace, right? Those of you that have started your business in the last 3, 4, 5 years, you've probably noticed that everyone and their grandmother seems to have a home care agency. And even though there's tons and tons of opportunity and tons of business out there, truth of the matter is that you're still competing, right? What's up, Bernadette? What's up, Chusa? Right? You guys are still competing with everybody else in your marketplace. And what happens is that like even back then when I used to market, I'd go out and I'd talk to referral sources and, inevitably it felt like, oh, they're referring to someone else, or they'd say, hey, you guys are all the same. What's your rates, right? So I'd get reduced to a rate, right? I call it being commoditized. Because truth of the matter is, like, let's say I was, you guys, let's just do a hypothetical. Let's say you were going to go and buy a bunch of pens, right? You got a big event coming up. You want to buy a bunch of pens. You go to Office Depot. You go to Staples. And Staples happens to be 5 cents less per pen. And you're buying like 1,000 of them, right? So there's just a hypothetical scenario. What's up, Elaine? So if you're on here live, say hello. If you're on here and you watch the replay, #replay. But if I was going to buy these pens, it's like Staples is 25 cents, Office Depot is 30 cents, or I had a flip, but whatever. I'm going to probably buy the pens from Staples because I can get these pens cheaper. It's just a commodity. Who cares? I want to spend less money on pens because I'm buying a whole bunch of them. So it's a commodity, right? When you're buying something like a car, you want to get the best deal. Well, in our business, it's a service. And I think we can all agree on here, everybody does things somewhat differently. How you screen your caregivers, how you do assessments or don't do assessments, your care plans. There's things that you do operationally that are different than your competitors, right? Does that make sense? Come to the chat box. What's up, Jeff? How are you? Right? So the reality is that we're all different in some capacity, but social workers, case managers, even prospective clients, they want to treat us like a commodity, right? Like a pen. And we're not. But the problem is that for most of us, I didn't know how to overcome that early on when I had my business. People are like, well, what's your rate? What's your rate? How many of you guys have been out marketing or and talked to a social worker and one of the first questions is, what's your rate? Right? Or how many of you have had a prospective client call in over the phone and one of the first questions out of their mouth is, what's your rate? What do you guys charge? Now, truth be told, obviously it's a part of the equation, right? Rate is something that's going to come up. It's something that people are going to ask about. But I promise you, from having done this for so long, rate matters, but it doesn't matter as much as most people think. Like, I've got clients who are charging 20% above market and their conversion rates are really good, right? And part of the reason why they're able to charge above market is because how they position their services, okay? They've done it in a way where the perceived value exceeds the cost of the service. So if you allow your referral sources, if you allow your prospective clients to reduce you to a number, which is your price, you're kind of dead in the water. And maybe that's a little bit of an exaggeration. It makes it harder to grow and scale your business the right way if you're allowing people to treat you like a commodity. And one of the things that I talk about all the time, it's like I call it the rocket fuel that you add to the spaceship that really launches you off the ground, is knowing how to position your agency in the marketplace in a way that you stand out from the competition, in a way that your prospective clients see your value proposition, and they look at you and they say, wow, we want to go with you. Okay, so this will improve your ability to get more referrals. It'll improve your ability to convert more clients that are inquiring about your services. And one of the things I talk about all the time, it's something called the multiplier effect, right? So if I were to tell you, hey, if we improved the number of referrals each week, let's just say by 5-10%, and we improved our conversions from, intake call or prospective client to an actual assessment by 5%. And we did the same thing with our living room visit conversions, and we got a little bit better, right? Most of you say, oh, well, my living room visit conversions are good. Okay, I believe you, but what's good, right? Because the industry average is somewhere around close to 80%, according to Home Care Pulse data. But what if you were doing 90%? Like we were doing 95% in our business. So that 5 or 10%, but added to the other 5 or 10% and added to the other 5 or 10%, when you stack it on top of each other, it creates this multiplier effect. I can show you the data. I just can't do it on my phone right now, but I can show you the data and show you how literally when you stack these things on top of each other, it's not 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. It's 1 + 1 + 1 = 10 or 20 because of the power of the multiplier effect. Does that make sense? So what we're looking for in our business is incremental improvements, and knowing how to position your business in the marketplace will add that extra incremental improvement to your business because people are going to look at you differently, right? So if they've got a list or they got a bunch of brochures and let's say they talk to 2, 3, 4 companies, when you have good, solid positioning, price becomes less of a factor. Price becomes less of a factor, and your ability to convert them to a client increases exponentially. All right. One of the things we did in our business, many of you guys have heard me talk about this before, but we had a wellness program. Right. We didn't just sell bathing and dressing. Right. Everybody on here, you guys were selling bathing and dressing and toileting and transferring and light housekeeping and all that stuff. We didn't do that. We were selling wellness. We can do all of that stuff, but if we're out there, let's just say 20, 30, 40 hours a week, there's so much I can do with the client to improve their quality of life, right? We focused on 5 key areas: safety, nutrition, physical activity, mental activity, and socialization. Now, there's some of you watching this right now and you're like, oh, well, Greg, we do that. Okay, awesome. Do you have something tangible? Do you have something that positions you in the marketplace in a way where you truly, truly stand out? So if I'm calling and I'm a consumer and I talk to you and I talk to 2 other companies and I like all of them, right? And let's just say pricing is somewhat similar. I like all of them, but you guys have something that's like, oh my gosh, wow, this is amazing. I'm going to likely go with you. Does that make sense? Come into the chat box if that makes sense, because this piece really, truly, truly does matter, right? How you differentiate your business, how you position your business in the marketplace is something that will set you apart from the thousands of other, hundreds of other, dozens of other competitors. So let's talk about it, okay? Because there's 3 keys that I typically talk about when it comes to understanding how to position the right way, okay? Number 1, what you're offering, right? What you're offering, does it truly have real value to the marketplace? And when I talk about the marketplace, real value to a potential consumer, or it could have real value to the actual referral source, right? So let's just use hospitals as an example. And I talked to the case managers, and the hospitals, really focused on reducing hospital readmissions. Let's just say hypothetically that's true. And I've got a program that's appealing to them. They're more likely to refer to me over the dozens of others that come on calling them. Right? That's the referral source. The consumer, our referral program was very powerful. In fact, our wellness program was very powerful. It was designed for the consumer in mind, but in truth, there were things that were part of our wellness program that could have also and would have also helped with reducing readmissions. I had enough stories and anecdotal evidence that this actually did happen. Right? So now it's also appealing to the actual referral source. But my point is that you have to have something of real value, right? It can't just be, oh, well, I'm the local owner. Great. There's a lot of local owners that own home care agencies in your market, right? For most of you, right? It can't be that, oh, we're on call 24/7. That's good. That's a nice service to have. But there's probably a good amount of other owners in your marketplace that have an on-call phone and they're on call 24/7. So it's got to have real substance of value to the consumer. It's got to matter to them. It can't just be something that you created and they're like, okay, so what? Like this really doesn't appeal to me. Okay, so that's number one. It's got to have real value. Number two is, in a perfect world, it's something that's a little bit more difficult to actually duplicate. What do I mean by that? So one of my clients, she had sold her business within the last year or two, but part of her business model, part of her business structure is that she was actually a partner with a physician, right? So she had a partnership with the physician, and I think they shared office space. And as part of that, she had access to nurse practitioners, right? So if you and I were going to go hire a nurse practitioner to help us do an assessment or do a care plan, we're going to spend a lot of money. But because she had access to nurse practitioners, right, her nurse practitioners can help support her home care business at a fraction of the cost of what it would cost you and I to go outsource it. Does that make sense? So for her, part of her differentiator, part of her positioning is, hey, we're really good at more complex cases, right? We're really good at, taking care of our clients that have different needs that your typical home care agency with no nurse at all wouldn't be able to handle or wouldn't be good at handling it. Does that make sense? Right? Because there's all sorts of different types of home care cases out there. But let's be honest, there's some that are more complex. There's some that, requires a little bit more clinical oversight. And if I'm a consumer and I'm choosing between, let's just say Tracy's company. Now, Tracy may be a nurse, I don't know. But let's say I'm choosing between Tracy's company and Elaine's company, and Elaine has got a nurse practitioner that does the care plans and does the oversight, and they're part of the on-call rotation or whatever. And my mom has got advanced stage Alzheimer's. She's got COPD. She's got diabetes. She's got, I'm just making stuff, high blood pressure. And she's got all these complex issues, and they call them comorbidities, right? They've got all these complex issues. I am going to feel a lot more comfortable knowing that Elaine's got my back because she's got nurse practitioners that are ultimately going to oversee my mom's care plan, right? No offense to you, Tracy. Tracy's probably amazing, got a great company, but I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable. So Elaine's positioning in the marketplace is that. Now, what's part number two? So number one, it's got real value. So that does have real value. Number two is that it's difficult to duplicate, right? Because if Tracy and Jeff and Vicky and, Chusa, if all of you guys, Bernadette, if you guys, all that are on here, right? If you guys were able to go find nurse practitioners easily to help you with this, then if what I'm offering has value, people will start to emulate what I'm doing. And if everyone can emulate what I'm doing, then eventually the positioning and the differentiator is going to lose some of its lust. It's going to lose some of its value. Does it make sense? Comment in the chat box if that makes sense. So because I can't just go find a nurse practitioner, or Tracy can, or Jeff can't, we can't find a nurse practitioner that's affordable, it's difficult to duplicate that type of differentiation, that type of positioning. Comment in the chat box if that makes sense, guys. Now, in reality, you're not always, my wellness program, people could have duplicated it. It was a little bit harder. And in the years that I had my business, no one, to my knowledge, duplicated our program. All right. So on a 1 to a 10, I'd say, how difficult was my program to duplicate? It was probably a 7, right? 10 makes it impossible. 1 means it's super, super easy. It was probably a 7 if I'm grading it arbitrarily. So number 2 is, something that's relatively difficult to duplicate. Number 3 is we don't want something that's already widespread in the marketplace. I will give you an example. Okay. So years ago, I don't know if it was the Senior Helpers franchise and, or could have been, one of the other bigger franchises. They came out with a Alzheimer's program. brilliant idea. So many people need Alzheimer's. Other franchises, they partner with the Alzheimer's Association, right? And I'm like, okay, clever. There's value there. Kind of a little more difficult to duplicate. Could you duplicate it? Yeah, but it was a little more difficult. And they were the only ones for a while that had an Alzheimer's program. So if I'm at that stage, at that point in time, and I'm talking to referral sources and I'm talking to potential clients, and I'm like, yeah, we've got this amazing program for, people have got Alzheimer's and da, 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 da. And I start communicating the value proposition, you guys are going to be like, or the consumer's like, wow, you're the first person that I heard talk about that. Amazing. I love it. We want to go with you. Okay? Makes sense. Now, fast forward 3, 4, 5 years later, how many franchises, how many independents, how many companies have implemented some version of an Alzheimer's program? A lot. Don't get me wrong, it's still got value. If you have one, great. Still continue to use it. It's amazing. Great value. I'm big on how do we add value to our clients, right? How do we add value to our clients? But from the perspective of an actual referral source, from the perspective of a consumer, if I get a list of 10 companies and I call 5 of them and 4 of the 5, right? 4 of the 5 talk about how great their Alzheimer's program is. What am I thinking as the social worker? Or what am I thinking as the prospective client? Am I excited? I'm like, whoa, Jeff just told me about his Alzheimer's program. Awesome. I'm going with Jeff. No, I'm like, okay, interesting. I like it. But Elaine has one. Tracy has one. Vicky has one. Chusa, maybe she didn't have one implemented, but I've talked to 5 people and 4 of them talked about their Alzheimer's dementia program. The appeal, the desire to make me say, hey, I want to go with Jeff, even though Jeff's a great guy, I want to go with Jeff, it's just not there because I got 4 others that said they've got something similar. Okay? Does that make sense? So in a perfect world, when you're implementing something like this, we want something that's not widespread. Okay? The fewer amount of people that have something like this, the better. And it becomes much more appealing. So when you communicate your value proposition, it actually has legs. It has substance to it. It has substance to it. Now you're speaking in a way where people are like, oh my gosh, I want to go with Jeff. Jeff's got this amazing program. It's a no-brainer. Hey, I'm even willing to pay $1, $2, $3 more an hour because what Jeff's offering, I want my mom to get the right type of care, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Does that make sense? So there's lots of different ways to approach this. So this way you guys make sure, hey, I've got something, real value, real substance, not easy to duplicate necessarily, not widespread in the marketplace. And when you have something put together and you're out there marketing, you're talking to prospective clients or your prospective referral sources, it truly does. It adds like the rocket fuel, right? And that's where the multiplier effect partially comes into play, right? Because you will get more referrals. You will get better conversions to get into the living room, right? You will get better conversions inside of the living room visit or the assessment. And you start to see your company scale and grow, okay? So hope this makes sense. I hope you guys found use out of this because I'm telling you, if you don't have something, take the time, implement the strategy. Make this real, make this powerful because it will change the game in your business. It will change the game in your business, okay? It's not like, oh, all of a sudden the phone's going to ring off the hooks. You still have to put in the energy and the effort and, do all of those things. But think about how much leverage that creates and how quickly it can accelerate. And I don't want to say quickly. It's just like little incremental improvements, but it snowballs. Okay? It just starts to snowball. So hope you guys found this useful. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. If any of you guys want to learn more about this is one piece of what we teach inside of our sales system training. So if this is something you want, Jeff, I didn't message you because I think you responded to one of our other messages. You and I just have not been able to connect. But if this is something you want to learn about, just comment in the chat box below, say scale, and someone from my team will message you. We'll talk to you about our programs related to sales. This is just one piece. Like, it's all about, like, there's strategy and there's tactics. The strategy part, this is one piece of the strategy part. Once you have the right strategy in place, then when you implement the other tactical stuff, that's when you'll start to see how they work in unison together. So, all right, Jeff, I will, I don't know, I feel like I messaged you through Messenger or somewhere, or it might have been email. I'll look at both. I'll send you a calendar link and we'll jump on a quick call. All right. Thanks, guys. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.